I'm Minnie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
We are formally, as of right now, Marks on Commentary. Right now we're Marks on Mania. We're going back and we're highlighting and just kind of discussing leading up to WrestleMania 30, all 29 WrestleManias. Obviously, this is something we want your input on as well. So at MO Commentary on Twitter, 978-276-9418 is the voicemail for the show. Even if you want to come up with your own video and send it to us, we will air it on our YouTube channel. Now we're at WrestleMania VII. Now this was a pretty big WrestleMania, and I have my geeky knowledge, but once I get to play the Jason card. This was the WrestleMania where, obviously we're going to say throughout these episodes, the gambles that certain superstars, the company, and Vince McMahon took. This was a giant gamble because this event took place during the Persian Gulf War.
Absolutely.
Sergeant Slaughter was in the main event with Hulk Hogan, who was absolutely 100% personifying the real American hero, essentially. And Sergeant Slaughter was the turncoat. He was the supporter of Saddam Hussein, which led to a lot of death threats for Sergeant Slaughter, which is a fun fact I learned back in 2000, WrestleMania all day long. It was a cool WrestleMania because the main event there was so much at stake. Again, it's professional wrestling, it's scripted, it's obviously choreographed, but to see that kind of intensity in a crowd. And it was kind of something that, obviously it didn't happen at last year's WrestleMania with Del Rio and Swagger, but the spirit of it was there in terms of it wasn't so much you were rooting for, you know, the good guy over the bad guy. It was what was at stake if the good guy lost against the bad guy. So that's my personal favorite aspect of this WrestleMania was, you know, I guess art imitating life, so to speak, and you know, taking the zeitgeist, which you had the Persian Gulf War and the unrest over there, and just Hulk Hogan really stepping into that character as the modern day, at the time, that modern day superhero image. And what else could you ask for a WrestleMania main event and for WWF to symbolize at the time? And Jason, what do we got for stats?
Stats. Okay. March 24th, 1991. Originally, actually, this was supposed to take place at the LA Coliseum, I believe. And despite what Vince McMahon and WWE play off, is there was death threats and they believed that snipers or whatever were going to be.
I was actually just going to point that out.
Actually, it was low attendance and sales that drove it to. So it actually took place in the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena. Total attendance 16,158.
That's still
it's good, but it's lower than some of the past manias. Even for MSG.
I like the original story about snipers trying to take out Sergeant Slaughter.
But yeah, personally, I have always been a fan of the Macho Man Ultimate Warrior match.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that is almost like today where you don't have necessarily one main event, you have two.
Yeah.
And those are two main event caliber matches right there. And
well, you have to understand, too, that in wrestling, it's very rare where you get guys like, you know, Rock and Triple H or CM Punk and Cena or, you know, Hogan and Warrior or Warrior and Macho Man, that their chemistry inside the ring is just so good that when it comes to Mania, where you want that chemistry to really pay off is on the biggest stage of them all. And again, it was, yeah, like you said, you know, usually for WrestleManias, it's a good WrestleMania if you have at least like a two main event quality, you know, sort of event where, you know, lately it's been Taker and whoever Taker wrestles. And in the past, you know, you had Macho Man and Warrior, and that was a phenomenal match.
Excellent.
That was a phenomenal match. Now, in terms of going back and like, would I have booked this differently? Is there anything you might have done differently?
Sure. The one thing that I look at all the time whenever I see this event is the fact that Jimmy Snuka is #1 on Undertaker's long list of streak.
Yeah.
The thing I would have done, and he was actually working the event, and you look at the whole card and who is available, British Bulldog is actually on the show, and he had relatively not a great match on the show.
Right.
I think he would have been a better choice. You could have played off the strong man versus the dead man.
That would have been an interesting dynamic.
That's the only thing I would have done differently, because at the time Undertaker was full on heel.
Right.
So I think you could have gotten away with it at that show.
I'm pretty satisfied with the way this whole event was set up. And again, really the main payoff was Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
I suppose it was a bit predictable because there was no way Sergeant Slaughter was going to walk out of that event with the WWF Championship.
Right.
There was just no way because, well, his life may have depended on whether or not he dropped the belt to Hogan. But where there was so much drama, I felt like maybe it could have used another element, higher attendance, perhaps. But no, overall, I thought it was a phenomenal show. Again, Warrior and Macho Man, the beginning of the streak for The Undertaker. That's obviously notable. But for those of you who, have seen these Mania matches over and over again, or these events, what would you have done differently? How would you have booked it differently? Would you have swapped out Taker's first, victim in the streak? So 978-276-9418 is the voicemail at MO Commentary. You can make us a video and shoot it over to us, but it's Marks on Mania, so again, have fun with it. This is what it's all about. Leading into WrestleMania, the anticipation of, or rather the importance of the WrestleMania pay-per-view every year. It is the Super Bowl of wrestling. So for Jason, I'm Eddie. We're Marks on Commentary. Do you have anything to add to? All right, we'll see you in the next episode.